Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are thrilled to have the opportunity to spend the next hour with you and give you an introduction into our new and improved City Hive studio. So my name is Monica Fagora, and I'm going to be your host for this webinar. For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, I am the Director of Customer Success here at City Hive, and I've been with the company for coming up on 5 years, believe it or not. Joining me today, we have a special guest. So before we get started, let me pass it over to him to introduce himself.
Hey everyone, I'm Yossi. I'm the CTO and co-founder of City Hive. It's been a while since I talked to you, but it has to happen every
Yeah,
once
I
in a
feel
while.
I feel like people probably see your name in emails popping up here and there once in a while, and probably same with mine. Answer the phone all the time. So now we finally get to put some faces to the names. So that's great. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and dive into it, guys. We'll start off by just going through a brief agenda about the topics we're going to cover today. So starting out, we're just going to do a brief overview of what this City Hive studio is and talk about what's changed. Obviously, we've had a lot of these features built into the platform before. And so talking a little bit about what the difference is between before and now. And I'm going to actually do a full demo of the builder. I'm going to build a custom product-focused web page live in the with the studio audience here. And we'll talk a little bit about what professional services mean and how you might be able to leverage maybe people that are a little bit more savvy around building websites, have the graphic skill set, especially if you don't have the time to do it. And then last but not least, we'll talk a little bit about the product roadmap and what it will look like in the future. Yossi, I'll lean heavily on you for that one. But hopefully at the end, we'll have some time for questions and answers. So with that said, let's dive in. All right, so Yossi, before we dive into the concept of the studio, I think it's important to talk about why City Hive has been the #1 e-commerce solution for the wine and spirits industry for quite some time now. When I think about when you and Roy first were understanding what it would take to get a wine and spirit store online, you probably realize that most owners don't have the time or expertise to invest in building a website. So I'm thinking the priority was create really powerful integrations and automations to be able to get a website up and running within hours. Would you say that's right?
I would say that's right, but we also add that it's not only that owners don't have time, is anyone at the end of the day, once you reach a certain scale, you can't just do everything manual. You're just gonna not have enough people to do that. And the way we're thinking of it is we started the simple cases, like you just a small business, not too many people on your staff, and then just want things happen on your kind of business in your business. And we're kind of thinking of the platform that way. Like how do we enable for that? But then as we look up and the bigger the business is, it's also how do we empower the business and the people within the business that are responsible for these things to kind of be very, very creative in an automatic way as well. So not just the creative side, but also having the system work for them, essentially in that sense.
Yeah, definitely.
How we look at it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I look back at the journey of where we got to where we are today is we got the automation. So how can you get basically a website up and running within hours, like I mentioned? And then the team started tackling like how do you implement tools to build pages, build banners, build events, and all the other things you need for a standard website builder. So it's kind of funny, we worked backwards of what a standard e-commerce company would do. We looked at automating and getting everything up and running quickly, and then giving that ability to customize because that's what the majority of our clients needed. So today, what I hopefully will be able to share and everybody will realize after the demo is we're taking it to the next level and really empowering our users with the ability to be creative within the City Hive system, utilizing the elements that we've connected in an effective way across multiple channels. So let's maybe start by digging in on around what I mean by City Hive elements. This is essentially referring to the very standard things you guys are using on a daily basis, or our customers are using on a daily basis. And primarily talking about the first thing is inventory. Inventory is everything from what are your products that are available, what are the products you want to show, what are the images of those products, the prices of the products. We know that inventory is kind of the bread and butter of the platform and e-commerce. And so connecting that in a really meaningful way, in a really streamlined way, is, like I said, one of the most important elements of the City Hive Studio. A couple other things worth mentioning is product groups. So not only about how do you showcase all of the wine that you have or a specific bottle of wine, but how do you curate these experiences and group your products based off of how your customers shop? And so these are things like maybe organic wines or kosher wines or local beer producers. So really customizing it based off of what your specific store's customers have or are looking for is where product groups come into play. The third element I want to focus on is promo banners. And for those of you who are aware of it, we're automating those already out of the box with a couple templates. But in addition, you have the ability to create your own promo banners. So being able to highlight things like case discounts or loyalty programs, or let's even just say you get like a really great price on your direct wines, being able to showcase that whenever customers are looking at your page and being able to direct them and advertise for the products that you want to sell. And outside of those three kind of product specific elements, we have events, forms, clubs like wine clubs or subscription services, and promotion. So we're really looking at all the core elements in the City Hive system and how we can then bring it together in what we call a multi-channel deployment. So something that we're doing already today is with landing pages and the website. You already can create these powerful, utilizing the City Hive elements, powerful pages and landing pages that we'll obviously dive into. But I think it's also worth mentioning that the goal here is for you to be able to do it once and being able to then deploy it immediately on the mobile app, or I should say automatically through the mobile app, and then even be able to create an email campaign. Because you've done it once, you can just easily copy paste and then replicate it. Anything to add there, Yossi?
Yeah, I want to add for everybody's perspective into what it is we're trying to do. We're trying to look at all of these elements and then think how do they actually connect to each other, and then we're also very open to suggestions of how these things can connect. I'll give like an example that's something that just kind of was thinking about. It would have been very cool for as a consumer to go on your site, and then if you have wine tasting going on like tomorrow, for them to actually, when they browse through wines, be able to see that these items are going through like a wine tasting tomorrow. Maybe they kind of showcase the products that are going to be in the events tomorrow, as opposed to showcasing the event. And the reason that's interesting is that then this connects to like maybe landing pages can have like automatic content that gets pre-filled, but it's kind of fit in based on these kind of two intersections. Right? It's the products that are being featured in wine tastings tomorrow, and they are therefore being showcased on your homepage as like featured items. You don't need to mark them as featured item. It's just the fact that there's a wine tasting tomorrow. So things like that are things that you can imagine how that saves both time, and it just focuses on what is actually happening at the store and not what you need to do on the platform to kind of make sure the items are marked with this and that, etc., etc. You just want to mention that there is a wine tasting tomorrow for these items. That's all. So these are kind of things we're thinking about when we're thinking of connecting these elements together.
Yeah. I feel like we could probably tap into your mind on how people can be creative with all these different use cases all day.
That's a different session. Yeah, we could do another one.
I know it's a different session. I feel like you should charge per hour on that, like a consulting fee or something. Yeah, but that's awesome. I think that's a really good use case. And again, being able to connect the City Hive elements, being able to say these are the events that are coming up, the products that are going to be a part of that event, and then how do they show on your website, mobile app, and via email campaigns. What I'll talk about next is the different use cases of the City Hive Studio. And then obviously in the future, maybe we'll talk about roadmap and how that will look the upcoming months. So for those of you who currently aren't using the City Hive Studio, I do want to just touch base on some of the common use cases. And the very first one being design freedom. And as you know, whenever you first launch a website with City Hive, it's going to look pretty similar to every other website that we launch. So the very first benefit of utilizing this is complete design freedom. You're going to be able to build not only landing pages, but home pages that are completely different than the person next door, but utilizing the technology that we have to automate all of your inventory into the system. Also, inventory presentation. So maybe you want to create a specific page or a list of products and recommendations for the holiday season, 10 gifts for dad, top 10 gifts for dad. That probably you won't want to look the same as if somebody was just searching for gifts or looking at just all the scotches that you have on the website. You probably want to create and present the inventory in a much more streamlined and maybe detailed view. So that's another piece that we'll talk about in the demo pretty thoroughly. The next one is events management. So I think that was a concept that you talked about earlier, Yossi, is really interesting. And maybe the out-of-the-box event template that you get when you create it using the City Hive dashboard isn't exactly what you want it to look like. Maybe you need more information about the event. So that's exactly what this tool allows you to do is, again, design freedom around all of these different use cases. Forms is another really highly utilized tool around creating pages. We look at it as being able to get raffle submissions, being able to collect user feedback. We'll be doing a lot of work here in the future around forms and connecting all the information that you capture with the customer section. But forms, again, another great use case. I know one of the biggest problems that the wine and spirits retailers are having today is the ability to hire. And so being able to quickly create a form where customers, or I should say, where people are able to apply and hopefully you can move forward, staff your stores appropriately and get ready for the holiday season would be huge. And lastly, about blogs. So blogs are another great place where customers want to go hear about what's new, hear about what you guys are passionate about. It's the most interesting part about, I think, working at a wine store is that they're not all the same. Everybody has their own expertise around it, their own special, description of the wines, and customers trust you guys for that. So to be able to build that content on a website that's facing or live online where customers don't have to be in the store and for you to publish it is huge.
I want to mention again around the connectivity and the value added for the consumers. We are thinking of things like if you have a blog post and it mentions a product, then maybe there is a general kind of value for consumers where whenever they browse to products, maybe like telling them, hey, there is a blog post about it. Or being able to kind of see products through that lens, where products that were showcased in blog posts are probably something that you want to highlight on your site generally, and you want your consumers to know about that. So we are thinking about how these things connect, where it's not really the typical kind of the world kind of you have e-commerce, and then you have content websites, and we are thinking, how do these two things actually connect to each other? That's kind of the basic idea.
Yeah, I hope that's clear for everybody. And obviously, we know it'll be easier to understand it when you can see it. So, more things to come there. But wonderful. So, I think from here, we're ready to jump in. I'm going to start with a demo. And to do that, we are going to kind of stay on theme with the upcoming holiday. I'm going to walk you guys through how to build a web page on guiding your customers through throwing a perfectly spooky Halloween party. So not only did I create this graphic, but I've highlighted a couple products that I think are really important to have at a party. I've also walked through recipes, and I think, having a holiday party like this, people typically want a nice cocktail and want to be recommended on what types of, spirits mixed together with the right mixers, and so that they can have a nice cocktail for their event. So we'll walk through how you can highlight that on the page, and then adding additional customer, or I should say product groups, as well as banners to your site. So it looks pretty simple. It is pretty simple. And I think it's now just time for you guys to see how easy it can be. All right. So to do this, I am going to start in the City Hive dashboard. Hopefully all of you all are familiar with this. And underneath the studio page, we're going to work out of our pages section. So we're going to be focusing on creating landing pages today, but definitely take a moment while you're here and explore the other abilities that you have for website customization and building here. So things like forms, like I talked about, pop-ups, hero images, search filters, all of that good stuff. But like I said, for this purpose of the webinar, we're going to stick with pages. And very simple, what you're going to do is create a new page here, and we'll start by adding a page slug for this website, the landing page. Now, a page slug is essentially what your URL is going to be for that for the website itself. So whenever you link it to social media or you link it to the email, this is the full page slug, and so you can customize it. I'll call it the Halloween party demo. That's unique from what I've used before. Right, and then the page title is used to identify your page. And another benefit that you get from this is when you send it as a link via social media and for Google SEO purposes, this is the title that will show up on the page itself. So I'm going to call this "Throw a perfectly spooky Halloween party." Great. So now that I have my page slug and page title, I'm able to now start designing my web page. And the way that we're going to do this with essentially the new content builder that we've built out in the studio section here is by clicking Open Pages 2.0 Editor and clicking Let's Go. Awesome. So like I mentioned, I'm here starting on a blank screen. And what I'm going to do actually is just pop back here and pull this down for me to be able to view it easily. But having the blank canvas is where you're able to then start adding elements, different layout options, as well as templates into the page so that you can start adding content into it. So for those of you who haven't built websites in the past, what I'm going to demo today, I would say, is a pretty common use case. So you're going to be primarily utilizing what I have here today. And the very first thing is an image. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the image here from the right side, drag and drop it into the website builder. And what it opens up automatically is the media gallery. So your media gallery is a place where you can basically upload content and images, so videos as well as images, and it gives you the ability to access it throughout the website. So anywhere you go, you'll have access to it. rather than needing to upload it in an email and then to the event and then to the website builder. You'll just have access to it once it's uploaded once. So personally, my best practices include whenever you have a page with multiple images, I would start by going to the media gallery, and let me just pop open where that is so you all can see that. So underneath the studio, going into the media gallery and starting by, oh, perfect, I have a couple images here. You can even grab a few of them. It doesn't have to be one by one, and just drag and drop them into that page. And that way it uploads multiple images at once and you don't have to do it individually. Okay. So going back to then the editor, I'm going to use the image that I've already uploaded previously. Okay, great. All right, so now that I've uploaded my image, one of the first things that I like to be a little bit picky about, and this is all personal preference around design, is I don't necessarily like the image to be 100% on top of the top menu. I like there to be a little bit of a gap on there. So what I'm going to do to start off with that is take the image and start utilizing the design tools, which you can see under the paintbrush here. So from a padding perspective, or to add a little bit of a gap between the image and the top menu of where you have like the ability to see your categories of wine, spirits, and beer, we're going to find that under the layout section. So if I'm under layout, you'll see you have options for margin, padding. And so I'll just quickly go in there and add a top padding for 25 pixels. And you can see that drops down to give me a little bit of a space there. So I know it sounds like it's a small thing, but when you're in website design, it's probably a common feature that you'll use. Okay, great. So now that I've done the image, I'm going to move on and go ahead and add my header as well as my subheader for the products that I'm featuring on this page. So this is under our template, or our template section is called a text section. I like to just drag and drop that here. Let me actually put in a block for that. Great. And something as another best practice that I like to use is on the top of the website editor, you're able to view the components, which will basically outline where your blocks are and making it easier to drag and drop sections in there. So again, I'm going to take this text section and now I can drag and drop it right here. Great. So I'm going to rename this to say Boo Sea Spirits. You see what we did there? And then I'm going to add an emoji. Let me see if this one's pulling. Okay, great. Yeah, awesome. I wasn't sure if I needed to use my hack there, but if you click on the emojis here, I'm going to just type in ghost and add my ghost.
The best feature.
And I mean, what else do we need? Should we stop here? Great. All right. So then I'm going to go ahead and add my text, and pre-wrote some copy here. So your guests are sure in for a treat when you stock your party with these spirits. Awesome. All right, now we know that we want this to be centered. So what you're going to do is essentially take each one of these. Correct me if I'm not doing it right, UC, but you're going to just highlight the sections. And again, under our design features, instead of being in layout, now we're going to be under typography. You can just go ahead and center the text here. So the team is working on building some additional tools to be able to quickly do it under the quick text editor here. But in the meantime, it's under your, like I said, your style and then typography. Now I can do other things here too. So obviously I'm able to change the font color. Let's just say I wanted to make it red. I'm pretty particular and I like to keep it black, but you can do that with the font color, the font background, and also bold, italicize. Those are probably additional options that you will want to use. And lastly, yeah, it doesn't look like it, but we are working on adding a font selector. So you'll probably see that within the next day or two as an option to choose fonts. All right.
Yeah,
And then something I like to, yeah, you want to
I
chime in
just
there, you
yeah,
said?
I wanted to mention we're making all of the fonts in the Google Fonts catalog basically available to you out of the box to the editor. Um, it's a very fresh feature out of the oven
Yeah.
today or tomorrow. Um,
That's
Another
awesome.
thing I wanted
And
to mention for everyone's kind of perspective. Um, so this is obviously it's an editor that we're building in house. We control everything here. Your feedback is welcomed 100%, and we would love to hear about features or how can we make it easier to do or clear to do, etc. Um, that's it.
yeah, that would be great. And I think what would be the best place for them to submit those features? Is it through the dashboard? Yeah, why don't we do that? So I'm going to just demo this really quickly since we brought it up. It's under the question mark here, and you can say share an idea. So this would be great under the CMS. Why don't we categorize everything there? So you can click on CMS and then start creating a post right here. And that will be really helpful. You and I can just take a peek at that every couple of days or week.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And then another thing I wanted to mention here is just font size. For me, this is pretty important to make the website look complete and good. So you can do things like put in large, and that will help, but also you can control it completely by doing pixels. So 50 pixels. Let's actually take this down to 35. I think that would look better. Great. So now we have our heading and we have our subtext there. All of those are being matched directly with SEO purposes. For those of you who are, working towards those things, it's important that you use the heading feature because that's basically utilizing an H1 tag. We've heard the feedback around adding additional H2, H3, H4, and noted we will work on doing that for the future as well. All right, going back to the builder, because I know we're going to be short on time, but the next thing I'm going to put in here for our products is a centered row. So our centered row basically means that I'm going to be adding multiple elements in one line, but instead of it being left aligned, I want it to be nicely centered. So I'm going to drag and drop that in there. And I'm going to start by just adding a few products. So on my demo, I had 4 products. Let's see, it's going to pull up there. There we go. And 4. Okay, great. Now I'm going to give you guys a little insight into my life and what I would choose. And hopefully you guys saw a little sneak preview of that before. But what I'm going to do is double click on this product card, and that's going to essentially bring me to that element that connects your inventory to your inventory. So all of the images, pricing, name of the products, badges, any kind of icons on the products are going to actually pull in onto this card, which is really helpful. So first thing I'm going to add in is Angel's Envy. Can't say that I'm the biggest bourbon fan, but I think it's important to have at a party. All right, the next one is a throwback to my college days and having jungle juice, and that's Everclear. So got to make some kind of jungle juice, put it in a Gatorade container, and you're bound to have a good time, let's be honest. And then let's go ahead and add some tequila. So then we have Espolón. Great. And again, this is taking me 2 seconds. I don't have to go in and add my image and add my price, add the description. Not only do I get all the content there automatically populated, but you're also getting an add to cart button. So it's very easy for a customer to just shop on this page without having to be redirected to the product page itself. So another key highlight of why this is important and different. Great. And then lastly, let's do Fireball because we all know it's not a party without some Fireball. All right, Yossi, did I miss anything? Is there anything you would want at this party? Are you a liquor person? Are you still with me?
Yeah, I
Oh,
was.
you're on mute.
Yeah. I said some water.
Oh,
But
we don't do that here.
these are fine. Fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Enough alcohol for one
Sounds
day.
good. Yeah, Yossi has to work the next day. So he's like, okay, I need some water.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. So again, these are my choices. Your customers are going to want your opinion and your recommendations, and so it's important for you to highlight the products that you think are best to be able to purchase for this specific featured page. So we're done here. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the recipe section, and just so I have a break in the actual viewing of the content, I'm going to go ahead and add a divider. So scrolling down into my basic elements, I'm going to just drag and drop that. Okay. I think I'm going to add a block first. Sometimes it's nice to have a nice fresh start. So let me add a block. Great. And then I can go ahead and add a divider. Super. All right. So divider is in. We can see it looks nice and pretty when I turn off that. What is this called again? The viewing components. And again, I'm going to just for the sake of it, add some padding to it. So let me go back to the components, and I want to have in my styling tools back under layout, just repeating that here, I'm going to add another 25. So it pulls down a little bit and it makes it a nice frame around that section. Great, so now let me go ahead and add another header in for my spooktacular recipes, basically dragging and dropping that in. And like we did before, we're gonna add some emojis for a spider, and we're gonna call it a spooktacular recipes. I'm gonna frame this one with another spider. Yeah. All right, so going back to this styling tool again, hopefully this muscle memory and repeating it a couple of times helps. We're just going to go under typography and text align it to be the center. Okay, great. So next we get to a section which is kind of complex. We essentially are looking to add two images next to each other, but have the text on top of the image so that it's still SEO friendly, and then also have links to the recipe that would take the customer to a different page to see the full recipe. I'm not going to dive into like actually creating a full recipe page, but this is the part that will really help enhance the look and feel of your website and these pages, rather than having like a header on top, the image underneath, and then the button. We're going to condense that all into one specific view. All right, so to do that, we've included a template here that's called text button tile. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag that in. And we're defaulting the text button tiles to have 3. So for my example, I do want to get into kind of the nitty gritty on how you'd move it to 2 since this is being recorded. So first things first, I'm just going to come click on the last box and I'm going to delete it. So now I have only 2 squares here that I can adjust. Now, what's nice about this is if I click on one of the boxes and hold down the shift key, I can click on the other box and essentially adjust both of them to be the same thing at one time. So back under my styling tool, what we're going to do is head to the layout of the boxes themselves and still can't talk. So other than it being 3 per the row, we're going to have it be a little bit bigger. So we can say basically almost 50% of the boxes. So we're going to change this to be 45, 45, and 45. And now you can see that the box sizes have changed. Now, it's important for me to talk a little bit about this here because the fact that if you use these templates, we have automatically adjusted it to be very like comfortable for a viewing experience on mobile. So they'll stack automatically rather than it kind of overlapping, and did a lot of the mobile versus desktop view built into that template. All right, so going back to this now, I'm going to go ahead and click out of my boxes, and now I want to change each one. Now, since these boxes are, again, templates, something that's worth noting is that we have what's called a class at the top associated to each box. And that basically means the styling that I adjust on one of the boxes will change on the other box. So let's put this into practice. So let's say instead of having this text be, going back to the typography section, 16, let's say I want it to be 45. So it's not only adjusted the box on the left, it's adjusting the box on the right. So the same thing will happen with font, as well as the font size, as well as, me changing the weight from being normal to bold, which I think looks a lot better. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is something that's kind of challenging with putting text on top of images, is that you kind of need the text to pop out of the image itself. So we have a really cool feature called a text shadow, which will essentially be able to put a shadow behind it so that it makes it stick out on top of the image. So here under typography, again, your text shadow, I'm going to just start with a blur of 15 pixels, and you can see hopefully that now you have some black blur behind the text itself. Now, the other part is that's cool about this is you can actually add multiple text shadows. So I can start with a 15 pixel blur on it and then go to the next one and then add an additional blur. So now I've kind of made it a little bit more strong and off-centered of the text itself. So that should be a pretty good setting to have your text to stick out of the box itself. I know it sounds really like detailed around all this, but for all of the graphic designers that have joined us today, here's the recommendation on text shadow that we would recommend using. Okay, great. So I am going to now add my images, and to do that, since I am done with the actual layout of adjusting both boxes, what I'm going to do is actually uncheck the classes. So now when I make a change to one of the boxes, I don't want it to make the change on the other one. So under classes, I'm going to uncheck that, go here to my first box, and to change the image of the box, we're going to go back to the design tool and go under decorations. So super simple. You'll see when you add it, it's very easy to change the color of it. But what we're going to do instead is scroll to the bottom and add a background instead. So when I go on background and click here, I have the ability to choose an image. And these are images that we've already uploaded to the media gallery. So again, just tapping into that tool, I'm able to start by adding my first image. Great. Oh, looks like it didn't take my class off. Sorry, let me uncheck that. Make sure they're unchecked for both. Okay, great. So it added it for the second one, basically showing you guys what I didn't want it to do, but that's okay. Now I'm gonna go to this second right box and we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna add an image and we'll add the alternative one now that I've unchecked it. Give it a second here to load in. Great. Awesome. So now I have my two images in here. I'm going to call the left one an apple pie cocktail. If you guys haven't had it, it's amazing. It's basically taking apple cider, warming it up on the stove, and putting Everclear in it or bourbon. And then we'll call this one Spooky Juice. Now the concept of my box looks good. And now we want to add the link to the recipe. So we'll just start by changing it. Again, I'm just double clicking to change the text, nothing special there. So I'll put get recipe. And the way that you change the link on this, since it's not a style option, it's a setting, we're going to just click settings and you'll see that in the href. So you can put the link here to the page you've created for the recipe itself. Anything to add there, Yossi? I know that one got really detailed into the design features, but hopefully not too much.
No, I think that's clear. One thing that was I see questions in the chat that you can show up, Monica. I think we're going over it in a bit, but as you resize, right, to different like for mobile, etc., how does the editor behave? If you could clarify, or if you want to clarify.
I say go ahead.
Okay. So essentially, you start by designing your kind of the desktop version, and then out of the box, most things will just stay the same for the rest of the dimensions, so mobile and tablet. There are some exceptions to that, especially for templates, because we make it more convenient so that it will automatically, for example, the images would break to to be multiple rows. But any change that you make when you are on the mobile version will stick to the mobile kind of size. So when customers would go to the page, or when you go to the page on a mobile device, you would see the styling that you applied to the mobile version if you made any change. And then if you open it on desktop, you would see the desktop version. So it's basically the main kind of, you should design on desktop, and then if you need to do some customizations for mobile, you just toggle the mobile view and then make changes there.
Great. Yeah, I think that's super clear. So again, I was just demoing how when I'm in the mobile view here at the top left of the screen and I change the font size to 20, I'm going to even make it a little bit more drastic so you guys can see. I'll make it 5. It's really small here on the mobile view, but it's not reflected on my desktop view. So I've only made the change on my mobile view. Great questions. Anything else, Yossi, that people have been highlighting that they want a little more info on?
Yeah, I see a question from Danette, and so if I'm pronouncing it wrong. The styling tool, so the one we own, is available for the say kind of the non-city Hive element. So if you're clicking on a product, Monica, if you can click on a product, the elements, you can't control the styling of the product itself. You basically can click the like the elements around that product and then customize that. So that will hold for like images, like text elements, and all of these pieces you can completely customize. But the City Hive kind of built-in elements are we can call them like hard-coded in terms of how do they look at this point. We are planning on exposing at a certain point of how do the product card look kind of throughout the site. I mean, we're just on that page, etc., but we're not there yet around that. Yeah, that's about this one. Let's see. Yeah, I think we have that. And then I see another question about gift cards. So right now, there's actually a way to you could use gift cards with links, but you cannot right now like drag and drop gift cards into the page. But if you click on a gift card in the gift card pages today and then copy the link to that gift card, you could place it as a link through the page itself here that you're designing. We will probably add it later on because our goal is basically kind of the way we're thinking about it is that any unique piece of kind of interaction that we have on the website and the app, we want to make it available through here. And I can, for example, like just the add to cart button that you have in product pages, we're thinking of just adding a button like that to the page and just connecting it to a product. So you could design a page however you want, and you just have a call to action saying add to cart, and that will automatically add the items that you connected to that button to the cart, and then the user can either check out or just continue from there. Again, it's a work in progress. Gift cards, these kinds of pieces are definitely on the roadmap now.
Great. Let's maybe pause there and keep going because we have a few more features to highlight, and then also talk through a couple other pieces. I'm glad we talked a lot about the roadmap so we don't have to spend a ton of time there. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to creating like a product collection and product list. That's all right. Great. So to finish out this section, I wanted to add like some additional text here. So it's not super important, but just so it looks exactly the same, putting some lorem ipsum here, and we can go ahead and center that. So it makes it super simple. Now that section is good. I'm going to close it off with a divider, and now we're all set to move on. Okay, great. And then hopefully you guys remember the bottom section of the page that I shared previously had product list. And the way that you're going to pull that into the page itself is utilizing the City Hive element up here. So product list. I'm going to drag and drop that in here at the very bottom. And you'll see that when I double click it, we get a very different kind of settings page compared to the other option when you were just trying to add a link. So essentially here we have the ability to title this section. What I did was call it other bestsellers. Call it whatever you want. And I go ahead and put this as to show the title here. So now you can show a title for this section. And what we do is when we click on change product group, this connects with the product group section in your inventory. And maybe I won't spend time actually building product groups. If you need help with that, please reach out to either our customer support team or schedule time with your customer success manager to build that out with you. But this pulls all the product groups that have been created under your inventory section. So I created one called bestsellers. And now we've automatically and dynamically inserted the products here that are showing. So
I want to mention
anything else to mention there?
Yeah, so one important thing to understand with the groups is that what gets put on the page is dynamic. So if you either change the definition of that group or new products are being added to the group because it's they're just you added new inventory and now you have more products there, these will all be populating automatically into the page. So you don't need to worry about about that. If you need to just have like a static list of items that you want to make sure that always shows up on the page, this is what Monica was showing in the beginning, right? You can always drag and drop specific items however you like if they don't really kind of relate to each other much, or if you just want to make sure that they are all staying there. But using the product groups, you're basically able to just let the system kind of figure out. Like a good example for a group would be just items under $15 as an example, and then the system will automatically, based on the user, will decide what items under $15 to show to that user. So if they like to buy wines, they will see wines under 15. If they like to buy like more on the liquor side, then they would see probably vodkas around that price, etc., etc. So it all depends on what kinds of product group you define, but there's always that personalization layer on top of it, as it is throughout the site, right? Whatever customers search, and of course with that personalization layer as well. So it's also active here.
Yeah, absolutely. I clicked on a couple other product groups just so you guys can see how it changes throughout depending on what you choose. Oh, there's the rosé is popping up now. Okay, I hope that's clear. But again, if you need help creating product groups and how you can dynamically create the sections and products that show here, one other thing is that you can force products to show up first within these product groups. That's with a simple tag of top picks. That's plural, all one word. And if you need help, just search in our knowledge base on the support page, just top picks, and it will pop up for you. Great. So let me go ahead. I'm going to flip this back to being the best sellers. That way it looks the same as what we had before. All right, and if it's not going to populate quickly now, I'll pop in here in a second. Okay, great. And then lastly, we just added a banner. So coming back to the City Hive elements, I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop my banner slider in here. And very similarly to the product group section, you have the ability to do some kind of customization here. Basically, we're saying the children is the banners, not hero banners. So the banners that are showing up already within your shopping pages, if you wanted to drag and drop that in here, it's a great option to be able to promote or maybe upsell certain items. You could go ahead and just upload another promo banner and these items will show here, or those banners would show there. So that's it. Once I go in and save my page, click OK. I'm going to close the editor, say OK, and I'm going to save my page. You have a couple other options to add page descriptions, add different featured images. If you add something that's different than the first image that shows up on the page, then that's going to be the preview image that shows if you were to post on social media or if you were to send the link somewhere. Also page type, going back to the blog posts section. If you only want logged in customers to be able to view a page, very helpful for loyalty program forms so that you capture a login for everybody. Those are some additional settings that you can set on the page itself. But for this purpose, I'm going to save the page and that will do the trick. From here, I can click on the link that will open the preview of the page and let's see how we did. Great. Looks like we got a little bit of a full width mode when I was starting to mess with the mobile stuff. That's fun, but we'll look into that and obviously have that adjusted. Yossi, it brings up a good question. Can you have some sections be full width and some not?
So you can make the whole page a full width and then narrow down
Right.
specific sections. That's through that button that we're still not sure where to put, so which is there on the top left in the editor.
Right.
Yeah, if you just go there, so people have reference.
Absolutely.
Is this make page full width? So what this one will do, it will just expand the content to be 100% of the page. And then if you need something to be just centered, it will naturally be the width that you define. So if you said that this should be 800 pixels, it's going to be centering for the 800 pixels in the middle of the page. That's one thing. There's also the option, if we're talking about like specific, what can you do with specific sections? You could make some sections on the page only be shown if a customer is logged in, for example. That's just available out of the box for most kind of content elements. Monica, can you show that?
Yes, I definitely can. So let's go back to the product group lists and under the settings.
Yeah, so that's gonna be the constraints. Yeah, and then it's getting blurry here.
Oh no, my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay, logged in constraint. Can you see it?
Yeah, we're good. So the logged in constraint, essentially what it does is says whatever sections you're on in the page, in the designer, then whatever sections you're on, that section will only be shown if a customer is logged into your site. So if they are not logged in, it's not there. And I'm assuming you can think of like several things that this can be helpful. One example can be to show if you want to welcome someone with, hey, welcome back, here is your purchase history and stuff like that we're going to add into that, etc.
That's awesome. Great. All right, and I'll save this just so everybody can see an additional feature that has rolled out in the past couple of days. Once I save it for the second time and I update the page, I can click into the page itself and I can see a revision history. So who made the change and at what time did they make the change? You can restore a change in case you made a mistake and should not have saved those changes.
That's a
So
coming
again,
feature. Yeah, the restoring one is gonna be in very soon, but we are already, if you make changes, we are already tracking the changes and the full content is available, so you could go back whenever you change it.
Awesome. Now I know I see a ton more questions that are popping into the questions field in chat. So I do want to be just mindful of the time and kind of make sure we cover the rest of the content. But I think Yossi, I have like 5 minutes after this time to hopefully stay and answer more. But great. So that does kind of handle the demo. Happy to kind of go through that with people individually with our customer success team. Again, we have 4 people total on our team to walk you all through that if you need help. And then more content to come. So we'll be able to create videos and obviously tutorials on how to use those specific tools based off of the webinar that we did today. So I want to talk next about our professional services. For a lot of our retailers, we talked about this. Maybe design isn't your forte, or maybe you don't have the time to build these custom web pages. So a couple of weeks ago, we have officially launched our City Hive Partner Program and have partnered with some really incredible agencies that have been utilizing the platform for years and are really skilled at not only doing the things that marketing agencies should be really good at, like advertising and design and marketing, but also utilizing specifically the City Hive tools to do that. So want to put a little plug in here for the custom website design offer. Let's say you are ready to create something from scratch. You don't want to have one of our basic templates, something completely unique for your store. We're offering a one-time fee of $2,500. It includes custom wide graphics like the Throw a Halloween party one I created, a custom homepage layout, and up to 10 additional custom pages. So let's say that you want a page for the top 10 gifts for dad to be able to reuse every year. Once it's created, you'll be able to go in there and drop in new products every single year. But the team, the professional services team and our partners would be able to create something that looks beautiful so that you can go ahead and customize it really simply. So definitely, if you're interested in that, I'll go back to the dashboard. You'll find it under the add-ons and plugins section. We have a lot more features for you to be able to use here. Okay, let me go to a non-staging story. Oh, that's good. I'll actually just share here. I don't want to pull up anybody's specific account, but add-ons and plugins, you'll see not MySpace as a add-on option since people don't use it anymore, but you'll see a section for professional services, and you can see our marketing services, our design services, as well as advertising services. So you can click on Contact Us to learn more. Our team will let you know about more details and to get you connected to set up. Great. And then product roadmap. Did we miss anything, Yossi, about product roadmap? I'm not sure because I know we talked pretty
I
in depth.
think I just want to mention a few things that everybody is aware of. So this was just a demonstration of the pages feature, right? So landing pages. The same is available for you for customizing your homepage. And then we're going to roll this out for the app, same thing. So same capabilities for the app itself. Also exposing the pages feature as a whole thing for the app, something that's not available today. So just showing pages on the app. And similarly, the editor that Monica was just showing, again, something we're building in-house. And slowly but surely, it's going to be showing up everywhere where you can generate content. So email campaigns, homepages, pages, product groups content, all of these pieces will start leveraging the capabilities and the power of the editor. And then it's just going to be one big ecosystem that you will all enjoy.
That's great. Yeah, it's super helpful. I see some questions about social media and how this will integrate into social media. So essentially, we at this point don't have a way to be able to just say, "Hey, post about this on Facebook or on Instagram." However, whenever you do utilize the link that was created to post on Facebook, then that content will automatically be linkable and obviously direct customers to that page of your website. So something not a direct integration, but it's really just taking that link and pasting it into the post that you're going to be sharing on social. So something worth noting is that all of our marketing services with our professional partners are include social media posting. So if that's something you don't have time to do, definitely look towards the marketing options too, where they'll help create emails, push notification, design updates, as well as post to social for all the content that does get created. Great. Um, Great question, Mark. Our site is still using WordPress. Is there a timeline where our site will be fully transitioned into the CHCMS? It's going to be sooner rather than later. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 2 to 3 weeks we've completely migrated everybody over, but we are manually migrating all the designs. So some of the more custom designs that were built on WordPress just require a little bit more TLC in order to copy it over to the new CMS so that you guys don't have to. We're taking that on upon ourselves. And so hopefully give us a couple more weeks. I would definitely say, before November, we should have you all migrated over. But it doesn't mean you can't use the Pages feature today. Pages 2.0 is available. It's more so really just the homepage that you won't customize right now. Won't be able to use the new studio section for. Is that a fair assumption, Yossi? You can correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, it's just probably a matter of a few weeks. It's too personal of a question, I think, Mark. Apologizing.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys.
Yeah, and again, I think we will follow up with the recordings, right, Monica? See Jessica ask.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So really thank you everybody for joining today. I hope you got a lot out of it. Hopefully you got to see a little bit of the vision of like where we've been for the past couple of years and where we're going and really our mission on how we're going to make website and content building as automated and easy as possible so that you guys can focus on your in-store experiences and really how you build relationship with your customers instead. So thank you again for your time today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.